All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. I have my friend here, Mr. Brandon Vaughn, joining us for what's going to be an amazing conversation. Brandon, how are we doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet, man. I think you don't need a huge intro, man, to be honest. I think a lot of our listeners will maybe have heard your name at some point, but let's pretend that a listener doesn't yet know of Brandon Vaughn. Can you just tell us a little bit about you and how your name pertains to the home service industry?
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. I consider myself to be more like a D minus list celebrity than an A list celebrity. So I think a lot of people may not know who I am. I've been in home services my whole life and had a window cleaning pressure washing business that I scaled up to about 70 employees. And that was basically off of the journey of being a second generation home service business owner, which my dad was an owner operator window cleaner for 33 years, as literally just between him and one other employee. But I got some really good coaches and mentors along the way and decided to actually scale up a business. And then from there, started a company called Wise Coatings, and I sold the window cleaning business. Started a company called Wise Coatings. We went from 0 to 39 locations across the country over the course of about 4 years, working about less than 5 hours a week in the business. I own a company called HireBus. It's an AI recruiting platform that I operate now. I also own a company called Volt Vikings. It's an electrical company in Tucson, Arizona, and a handful of others. But I have CEOs that run each of those businesses. My main focus is HireBus right now.
Wow, you're a business fiend, dude, but you're also, I love this about your story. You're a family man too, and you win in business, but you're winning on the family front. I think that's also a reason I wanted to bring you on today.
Right on, man. Yeah. Yeah. Family's everything for me. That's my core why. Not motivated by money, definitely motivated by time. I work from home every day. Try not to work on weekends at all and be done at 5 o'clock PM so I can spend time with my family.
It's amazing, man. You shared a quote. It's sort of been years ago, man, when I was following you, growing my window cleaning business. You had this term that you said for you, financial wealth is one thing, but you want to be wealthy with your time. Could you mind starting with that a little? What you meant with that? I'd love to hear some more.
Yeah. Time is the ultimate currency. It's way more valuable than money. You can spend all your money, you can lose it all, you can save it, you can gain it back again. But time is a currency that you spend every day, every hour, every minute, every second, whether you choose to or not. And so often, us as business owners fall into this trap where we say, hey, you know what? Instead of paying someone to do that for me, I can do it myself. I will save my dollars and I'll use my time instead. And this is a DIY death trap that a lot of owners fall into. And the problem with that approach is that you forget the fact that time is infinitely more valuable than money. And it's a horrible trade, an absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible trade. And you won't realize it until time's gone. And either your kids are grown or your, parents are, very close to the end of their life. And then suddenly you have this gut punch realization. And what I would love everyone to be thinking about is how can I avoid that? And how can I instead be more of an investor mindset? Because wealthy people think in terms of time. How can I
Mhm.
collapse time? How can I go spend money and invest time so that my result happens faster and more efficiently? And I think we would do well to think that way.
It's so good, man. Do you think it's easier for like wealthier people to, pay for things so that they can then get their, like, I almost want to go back, man, to your all clean days, you're growing. Like, I'm guessing you weren't just like flush with cash and hundreds of thousands before you started delegating. Like, how do you have the balls to start delegating while you're broke? That's what like most owners got to figure out.
I think that it is hard to delegate when you're broke and you haven't had an opportunity to like earn the right to just go pay someone to do a $5,000 or $10,000 branding exercise. You got to be scrappy. You got to start out with the crappy logo and you got to start out with the Fiverr, design thing. But the trap that a lot of people fall into is they don't, when they have the cash, they have that resource, not taking a portion of that and setting it aside as an investment tool to be able to leverage.
Mm.
And it's just like anyone, when you start out investing, you can only have a little bit of something to invest. But then as that investment grows, as it compounds over time, then you have more to be able to spend. And it's how you choose to spend it. And I think that for business owners, an investment, one of the best investments you can make is actually creating systems that will empower you to be able to delegate in the future with a lot less of your time.
Mhm.
So, recording things as you do them, making sure that when you're booking jobs, you're selling jobs, you're doing the job, you're documenting that process so that in the future, when you are ready to invest in someone to come onto the team, very quickly you can get them up to speed. And there's a greater likelihood that if they don't work out, you can find someone else to replace them. And I found that when I made the most amount of money in my business was when I focused on that thing instead of actually working on the tools.
Yeah. Can you walk us through? I know it was a few years back, but I'm curious your story, Brandon, and actually getting off the tools. I think owners stay on for various times. There's a quote, I'm sure you've heard it too. They've been in business, they say they've been in business 20 years. They just repeated the same year 20 times over. So what was your journey like? I'm curious in actually getting off the tools. And then if you can speak to the momentum, man, of building a 70-person team, like just tell us a little bit how that progression went.
So I'll never forget the day that I decided not to go out with my guys in the field. I drove to, first of all, they like left my house. I didn't have a shop. They left my house with our van. We had these old Astro vans that were,
Hmm.
really beat up. And they drove out and they did that. And like I followed behind them later on, like an hour later, and I parked out front or parked like on the side and like snuck around to see like how they were doing, and just to check. I was like the helicopter parent looking at them through the bushes. Like it was a freaky experience to get off of the tools and just kind of let go of that control. And they made mistakes. They accidentally killed plants. They forgot things. They left tools behind. And the reality is, though, is that I also did those things even when I owned the business and it was me doing the work. Yeah, maybe I didn't do it as much, but how you decide to solve those issues by putting a system in place to prevent it from ever happening again, whether that's a checklist or, some kind of, even something small like a laminated spot where this is where it goes, or,
Hmm.
those types of things, that helps reduce that instead of falling back into the trap of, well, I just need to go out there and do it myself because I'm the only person that I can trust in my business. So it's a huge mindset shift. It was hard for me to do it because I'm kind of a control freak.
Hmm.
And my coach at the time literally had me write down the word control on a piece of paper and tear it into as many pieces as I possibly could. I thought it was ridiculous, but as I was
Yeah.
doing it, I started crying. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
weird.
So you're actually, do you have like perfectionist tendencies too? Like everything needs to be so perfect, or do you struggle with that at all?
I have this perfect blend of ADD and OCD. So I obsess about the details until it gets to about like the 80% mark, and then I completely and utterly lose interest.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that is a very, very dangerous place to be. And I've found over the years that I have to surround myself with really good integrators and people that can actually finish. And I greatly, greatly, greatly value organization, even though sometimes I struggle with it because of my ADD. I value it because when things are organized, then I don't have to be a bottleneck. People can find things more easily. I can find things more easily. And so I value organization because it's basically turned into my survival tool as someone
Hmm.
with ADD.
Sure.
So it does come through in me getting really obsessed with the little details, but I do think the details matter in a lot of ways.
100%. And when you grew All Clean, I'm curious, Brandon, did you have an integrator on your team for that level, or were you kind of like the main guy and then it went right to I'm curious the structure that you built it up to.
I had versions of integrators on my teams. So, and when you kind of use the word integrator, you're using a little bit more classic EOS framework where you have your visionary, and you have your integrator. And I think that those individuals they exist at some ratio in all of us. Some of us have a high capacity to be a good visionary, and we can see around corners, and we can forecast things. We come up with really creative ideas, and we can cast a vision, and we can sell it, and I've always been strong in that area, but I need to surround myself with people that are just good at to-do lists and task lists. And when I look at a task list of 50 things to do, I collapse on myself like a dying star. So I need to hire integrators that see that and are like excited about it because they love the feeling of just checking things off in a sequential basis. My first one in that case was my office manager, my first office manager that I hired. She was very capable in that way. She cared about the details. It used to drive me crazy because she'd always hold me accountable to making sure that like the receipts got put in and all the little job, details are filled out. I don't like to follow my systems, by the way. I don't know if anyone else is that way.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always a problem when you design these systems and then you kind of buck against them yourself.
Yeah.
And having someone that can hold me accountable, the team accountable. Eventually, that became an operations manager, Steve, and that like changed everything for me in my business. And as it grew over time, I had department directors for each one rather than one single GM, one classic, integrator or operator CEO. Back when I had all clean, it's different now with some of my businesses, but I just had, my directors of each one of these departments, and then they ran the business, and I would meet with them as kind of a group once a week.
I remember, Brandon, you might not even remember this. You came to ResponsiCon in Phoenix in like it was 2019 or 2020. It was right as Kurt was getting the shows going, and you did a great presentation, man. I was in like the second row. I was taking all the pictures, man, because I had like a little 150K cleaning business at the time. I wanted to grow. And you had all what you just described, it laid out like your org charts. And then, going in the breakout session with you and getting asked questions. It's so funny too, man. You're going in the washroom to take a leak. You got like 8 people trailing Brandon in the bathroom. It's just like so funny. But for me to say thank you to you, man, because you were so instrumental in me. You almost like grabbed this torch because we've all read the E-Myth. But I think there's a huge gap from work on your business to like, how do you actually do it? And I think like your visuals and your system Saturday, and even the whole organization you built with Conquer, I just think there's such a need for the education in the space of home services. And so I just think it's super cool that you're almost this catalyst for so many in the trades of like, take your systems guys a bit more seriously, because it does change your life, man.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you for saying that. And I love that you had that moment where you brought up a ResponsiCon. Actually, I remember that. I remember that
Yeah.
presentation specifically. And it just is, it's having that little epiphany moment that you could get from someone that can just explain something where you just kind of have that little click, and then actually having the discipline to execute it. That's one of the things I've been so impressed with you is that like, did you execute? And you've surrounded yourself with good integrators, and all of the success that you have in your business. Like there's hundreds of people that have heard the same kinds of presentations, the same kind of information, but that gap is just doing it and just getting in and just kind of taking that first step. And I think that's just where a lot of people, they get stuck in analysis paralysis, or they're lazy, or whatever excuse,
Yeah.
they're not worthy of it, something that holds them back, when really speed of execution is I think one of the big thing that comes also back down to time too.
Totally, man. Well said. Let's go a little deeper, man. And then I got a couple more for you. Let's say the listener right now, man, is Steve, owns a window cleaning business, and Steve did in 2025 $300,000 of revenue, and he wants to grow, let's say, and break that $500,000 mark. How would you coach Steve on saying, okay, buddy, we need to allocate X amount of hours per week to be the CEO? Because of course we know the phone's going to be ringing, the requests are in, employees will quit, vans will break down. Like, how would you coach that individual to almost jump in their helicopter with you, Brandon, and see like the whole forest? And if you can go as granular of like, dude, like break down this amount of time in your week. This is what, as you've seen it so many times with companies you've coached.
The first question I usually ask anyone is, imagine your business is a teeter-totter, and on one side you have sales and marketing, the phone ringing, your demand creation. And on the other side, you have your supply, your technicians, your vehicles, your, basically your ability to go out and deliver those. Which side are you, is your bottleneck right now? Where are you over indexed on? And if they're really looking to grow, usually what ends up coming down to, and I typically find that, is if they have so much work they can't possibly handle it. They don't have enough time to go out and get all the quotes done. And they have like their guys, but it's just like they have so much demand there and they can't meet it. Usually it ends up being somewhere in the form of like, okay, well, what person should you be bringing in to do this? Is this another salesperson that you need to bring in? Or is this more technicians that you need to kind of hire in order to meet the demand? And usually the answer kind of lies as far as, okay, if they're in that scenario, then, they don't have enough bandwidth to do it. Well, why don't you have enough bandwidth to do the sales yourself? Well, because I'm out in the field. Okay, step one, get out of the field. Like, absolutely, you should not be in the field no matter 300K in revenue. You're never going to grow past that if you're still working in the field full time doing the work. Okay, great. You're out of the field. Now there's more capacity for you to be able to do the sales, but the leads aren't coming in. Okay, well, now it's marketing driven. Or now we're booking out 2 months, well, technicians, what's your recruiting process look like? How do you kind of hire and train? And really, I think what happens is there's almost a problem that's happened with a lot of these guys because of all the coaching, because of all the information, because of all the, the YouTube and TikTok gurus that talk about things, is that now they have analysis paralysis and they think they have to have all these things in place before they just increase their ad spend and just do that. Like raise your investment in your marketing. If you have a machine, you could put $1 in, pull a lever, and you get, $8-10 back. Put more in there.
Yeah.
And sales solves a whole lot of problems. Raise your prices. Like some of these basic, most foundational things, people almost overcomplicate it when they're at that 300K range and feel like it all has to be perfect. And really the way I grew, and probably the way you grew, was just kind of being that scrappy individual that just focused on making sure that the call volume was coming in. And then you can kind of systemize some of these things over time as they, break or become bottlenecks or problems. But I would have people come out to my company when it was only doing $1 million a year in revenue. And they'd be like, wow, I thought it would have been more organized than this. It still seems a little bit messy. I'm like, yeah, we'll get there. I didn't care as much about that. It's like more about just progress over perfection.
Totally, man. I didn't even print business cards till we got like over 100K in sales, just because I just started door knocking and passing out. It's like, I think I was on a coaching call with a guy the other day. He was not even at 200 grand in sales. And all he wanted to talk about, Brandon, was his go high level and how he's setting up all his automations. And I'm like, time and place, buddy. But it's just like, yeah. So I don't know why cleaning owners, a lot of them, they love to over index on getting it almost too complicated and fancy when it's just like, we just got to get to first base, like learn how to talk to a customer, pump your prices up 20, exactly what you said. There's probably 5 to 10 dead simple, easy lifts a service business owner can make before they like start having these conversations.
I mean, let's be real. The people that you talk to, how many of them were knocking on doors and, going out and just like hammering, the phones?
Yeah, like less than 10%. It's like minority.
And it's a skill set that if you possess, no one can control you. Like, it blows my mind when it's a unique concept to people when I say, if you have a quote and you go out and you give a quote to a customer, why are you not knocking on all the 10 neighbors' doors and telling them you're just over at Mary's house? Like, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Oh, well, yeah, like they're scared. And I get that. I get that it's a hard thing to do, but it's those basics that, I tell people, when they want to add another service line or when they want to go, switch up some big thing. Well, I'm using customer factor right now, and I'm thinking I need to go switch everything over to this. And, they're only doing 250K in revenue. It's like, dude, just go sell, like get some more work in. It's not your problem to solve right now. And I think it is because of all of the content out there, to be honest. I think it is so much of the resources and systemize and systemize and systemize. And I think sometimes people too small get caught up in that trap that they have to do that now in order to fix where they're at when that's not their problem.
Yeah, man, I'm curious to go one deeper on that with the sales. In your journey, Brandon, did you self-teach yourself sales? You did also allude to like you worked with some great mentors. Like, how did you become the salesperson that you are today? How did you learn that through your companies?
I mean, I'll be honest. I definitely had the privilege of a few advantages. One, I got a chance to work with my dad full time while I homeschooled through high school.
Mm,
I went on every bid that he did and every quote that he did. I saw how he talked to customers. I was there to just kind of like absorb all of that salesmanship. He was a very good salesperson, very personable. Um, and then I also in church was enrolled in our public talk school that we had. So
mhm,
like since I was 4 years old, I would be up on stage, starting with like a Bible reading, but then it came to actually giving talks and parts and that socialized me a lot, even though I was a weird homeschooler. I got lots of, good socialization and talking to people and just being comfortable with doing hard things.
mhm,
And I think that gave me an edge to be good at sales. And not everyone has that skill set, and not everyone should be their salesperson in their company.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that there's people when like, like, yep, you probably shouldn't be the one that's selling your services to someone else. You should hire a salesperson.
Mhm,
But for me, I kept that sales position all the way up until we were over, a million in revenue. And
mhm.
then I hired a salesperson. Then I was like, oh, okay, here's how I print money. And then it was
Yeah.
just kind of game on from there.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's funny, man. My dad is a minister, and there's pictures of me. I was 3 years old, up with a little guitar banjo, like playing this church songs with him. So it's just like for people like you and me that grow up in the church, it seems normal, but it's like, man, what you can learn from churches. I played soccer my whole life. It's
Mhm.
amazing these skills you pick up in other arenas of life that in business you're like, yeah, like it's just normal to go talk to a customer, talk to the neighbors, where a lot of people today, they're because of this, man, they just don't have those. They're so anxious to go talk to the homeowner. So it's funny. I think you and I look past a lot of skills that we probably got in other arenas that to plug into business, it just makes sense. All right, everyone, it's Dave Mormon here. And if you've been around us for any stretch of time, you're going to know about my best-selling book right here. This is Get Off the Truck. And I took 3 years of my life to write this book, which is your playbook, exactly how you grow an exterior cleaning business. Well, let me tell you, I've went one step further. We now have our Get Off the Truck Accelerator, which has over 100 exterior cleaning business owners now in our program that are getting access to pre-built templated systems, a tribe of other exterior cleaning business owners, and weekly coaching with myself and our team of expert coaches at Home Service Business Coach. So if you're looking for a program that doesn't cost an arm and a leg and somewhere where you can get started in investing in your own personal development, you want to check out the Get Off the Truck Accelerator because it's built only for exterior cleaning business owners. So if this is you, I look forward to you taking action and seeing you on the inside.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have head trash too, where they think of themselves as their target customer. And so they think, man, I would never pay someone $500 to wash windows. That's insane. Well, you've already lost because you aren't your target customer and you would not buy those services because you know how to do it. Well, your customer doesn't. They understand the value of everything that you have. And well, I wouldn't want someone coming and knocking on my doors. It doesn't matter. It literally stop putting yourself in the as being on the receiving end of what it is you provide because you're not your target customer. And the quicker you just disconnect from that, disassociate from that, and get to know who your customer actually is and actually what they want and actually what they're willing to pay, then you actually start being more successful. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big struggle a lot of people got to get through.
Yeah, man. And you build your service business right. Maybe one day you could become your affluent customer, have the income and then you buy your time back. That's like the ultimate cycle. Takes time.
I know, like I don't have a soft washing business now, and so I hired someone to come soft wash my roof and my exteriors, and I was like, $2,000 to clean our house, Jesus.
But
Yeah,
how
that's
many
right.
thousands of people paid you back in the day? It's so funny to be on the other side.
A previous conqueror. So I just had to, I was like, all right, well,
There you
kudos to
go.
you. Here we go.
That's awesome, man. They probably got you upsold pretty good. That's
They did.
great.
Yeah.
I want to transition, man. Two last things I want to hit. I want to hit hiring, and then I'll save my last question for you in a few minutes. So, talk to me about the importance of hiring through your journey, and then, man, I know we've chatted, but I want you to tell the listeners what you guys got cooking at HireBus, however much you can share, because I know you came on this call all jazzed up what you guys are building. So, talk to me about importance of hiring in a trade business, and then I do want to hear what's going on at HireBus, how you guys have been building that.
So there's a framework called MAST that I've been teaching a lot lately, and it's message, amplify, score, and top grade. That's like the 4-step framework. Recruiting at the end of the day is a it's a recruiting problem to solve.
Yeah.
We'll come to the math part next, but it's a recruiting problem to solve. So how do you have your job ads written as like step one? What are your hooks? What's your headline? They shouldn't read like a written HR job description. They should actually sell the person that's reading this. And then, your message has to be dialed in. Well, then you have to amplify it. You got to get it out there as much as possible, hit all the different channels that you possibly can to let people know you are looking for ones. Because what we found with HireBus is, now we've brought in, I think it's like close to 500,000 candidates through our platform in the last 2 years. And we found that roughly it takes 100 candidates to get one good quality hire out of it.
Wow.
And it's getting worse because there's AI tools now that allow a candidate to apply to 300 jobs with one click of a button. And every time they apply on a job, Indeed pops up and says, hey, would you like to apply to these other 10 jobs? You just click a button. And Indeed charges all of them, that applicant, as well. So it's getting worse and worse. So it's a volume game. And then the score part is having an actual system that allows you to be able to figure out, okay, here's my ideal person. How well do they kind of fit on a scale of 1 to 10 for this? And then top grade is always hiring, never turning your ads off, and being comfortable with firing people and being in a position of strength where you can say, I'm not going to tolerate bad behavior, cancer, insubordination. I'm not going to tolerate low performers. And I have a bench of talent that I can pull from. And I have all of my people on my team. We have their KPIs. We look at them, and the people that are on the bottom, we top grade. We put in better performers and we swap out rather than just waiting for people to quit. And I think that's what a lot of business owners do. So you get that part figured out and you get it under control, your recruiting game just completely changes from there.
Yeah. That's amazing. What would you say, Brandon, for recruiting budget ballpark? Again, let's go back to Steve doing 300K, like, to put 300K top line coming in. How much should we kind of set aside when it comes to my whole recruiting and hiring budget? Do you have a rough, messy ballpark that you would coach on that?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that when you're only doing 300K in revenue, you're not probably going to be hiring all the time, just because you aren't there unless you're planning on growing, to 1 million in revenue plus.
Sure.
Then you absolutely would be. But usually, what we kind of take a look at is roughly about 1% of your annual revenue should be kind of set aside for a recruiting budget. And that's kind of even on the low end, especially when you consider that it is the core thing that you sell. Your people, your services. We don't sell window cleaning supplies and soaps and detergents for homeowners to do it themselves. Like literally our service is what we sell, and those are provided by people. And shouldn't we have the best people so that we can charge the best prices and we could deal with the least amount of stress in our company? And if it's kind of one of those investment type things where you're like, when you only go out and hire, when you have someone that turns in their 2 weeks notice and you got kind of this gun to your head approach of panic hiring whoever can fill in, it just leads to this continuous cycle of just having not great talent that you're always frustrated with. And you got to pay to play on these platforms now. Like it's noisy out there. There's competition.
It's a great point, Brandon. I think So many small service business owners too we're in 2026 going into busy season. It's always leads. How do I get more leads? Leads that is important. But
Yeah.
if you do look at the foundational framework of a company, you hit it on the head, man. Your product is the people. Better reviews, better prices, better margin. You're just happier as a business owner. That for whatever reason, man, we over index on equipment, we nerd out with some marketing, and then we're like, oh, like even guys like Coach, man, Dave, I'm doing $30 a day right now on Indeed. I'm like, okay, like that's really not for your company size. That's really not gonna do a whole lot. So do you know why that is, that we almost cheap out with recruiting? What's your take on that?
It's because by nature, we are reactive creatures. We're not
Hmm.
proactive. It's very, very hard to be proactive at almost anything in life. It's because we have a whole bunch of things that are right in our face as far as a problem goes. If the phone's not ringing, that's like, we got to figure that out now. If
Yeah.
there's not work coming in, if I have bodies that are in my company and they're doing work, even if they're doing like a decent job, they're not like horrible. If they're horrible, now we're reactive, right? But
Mhm.
they're just like doing a decent job. That decent performance category is a death sentence for most business owners because it's right in this comfort zone of not bad enough to the point where we're reactive and we're like, solving the problem, but it's also good enough to where we're not thinking proactively like, hey, we want to get better people than this in our team. Our team deserves it.
Mhm.
And being in that proactive mindset to have your job ads going when you're fully staffed is just not a natural thought for low level operators. For high level operators, for the people that coach me, that's the one thing that they are constantly hammering on me every single day is everyone on your team needs to be replaceable. You need to be top grading your talent. And it's just this mindset switch that I've had to personally have that has then unlocked massive growth for me in my businesses. Like, all clean, we hired 25 people in 30 days because we had built up a bench of people that were ready to hire over the course of the entire year. We
Mhm.
interviewed people, we talked to people over the whole year, and it just takes a lot of work to do that. And when it's not the big thing that's on fire right now, it's just harder to be
Yeah.
proactive.
Man, and all the more reason to push the recruiting when you do have a cleaning business. Cause like that's why I got into it in the first place. I was like, you can bring someone in from the outside world and in the course of a month have them trained up and making money for you. You can't say that for HVAC or for electrical. And there's those a lot of pros to those businesses too. But I think that is one reason that bodes well to keep the taps on with recruiting.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I love that you even said that because there's people right now that are listening to this saying you can't teach someone how to be a good cleaner in 1 month. It takes 6 months. It takes years. And I mean, my dad thought that way in full transparency. I've heard lots of OGs in the window cleaning industry and others say the same kind of thing. It just comes down to a system and being a good trainer. And if you think of yourself as a marketing company that just so happens to do window cleaning, a
Mhm.
training company that just so happens to do window cleaning, a recruiting company that just so happens to do window cleaning, if you focus on those as your functions as far as what your business actually is, the thing doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're cleaning. I mean, I'll tell you right now, just as someone who has a garage floor coatings, a cleaning business, and an electrical company, 80% of everything I'm doing across every business is identical.
Wow.
The 20% is like the how and the thing. And like, yeah, you get
Mhm.
that part figured out and dialed in, but it's still all the same foundational work. Uh, it's just a matter of being good at those disciplines.
So you're big, Brandon, on obviously everything going on with AI, like
Yes.
staying resilient in the home service space in the coming years. Can you just speak what do you see? I mean, you got a front row seat of this. What do you see coming down the line as it pertains to home service businesses?
Well, AI agents have hit the recruiting scene. So AI agents right now will write job ads, post job ads, message all your candidates, get on a phone call with them, interview them, give them a behavioral assessment, give them a right seat score, actually tell you who the top, 3% of talent is. So you can take a pipeline of hundreds and say, here's the 6 people that you should talk to that are the highest priority. And I know that AI is doing that because that's what we built. So HireBus, that's what we did to address and use AI agents for recruiting space, and that's Iris, our AI agent.
Okay.
So that's how people come to us to help them with recruiting is with Iris. But other AI agents, CSRs, right now with my electrical company, I have a full-time AI agent that does all of our lead setting. So the
Mhm.
second that we get a Facebook ad lead come in, it, they're calling and talking to the customer. And then they have full access to the CRM, the tools, our FAQs, and we'll actually book an appointment, based on routing, of
Wow.
where the electrician's going to be. So they're very, very powerful. And there's about 100 other use cases for AI agents as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been obsessed with for the last year.
It's amazing, man. You have a uncanny ability to skate. I'm Canadian, so I'll use a hockey analogy on you, man. Even though you guys beat us in the Olympics, all good. You have an uncanny ability, man, to skate where the puck is going. And I think you've heard that before. I know it because you're a fascinating case study. And I know we chatted a while back, and you were telling me about your electrical company. I thought, isn't that interesting that you exited the cleaning business, you exited Conquer, and now you're going, home, and you've, grown Wise Coatings as well. So I think it's really cool to see almost what you see in the home service space, and you're right privy to all this info. So that's super cool.
I appreciate you saying that, and just full disclosure, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing, Dave. I mean, like that's the reality. I
Yeah.
really don't. I mean, and this is the point I want to make sure that all your listeners actually know, and is that to get somewhere you've never been means doing things you've never done.
Yeah.
And I'm in a perpetual state of, I've never ran into this problem before. I mean, your problems don't go away as you get bigger. You just get new ones. And
Mhm.
oftentimes they're harder ones to solve. They're more
Mhm.
challenging. Like you hire all these really, really smart people in your company. You've done a good job of that. And then the hardest problems that even the smartest people that you've hired can't solve or don't know exactly how to do, those still get percolated back up to you. And so I don't consider myself as this super genius that's really I just consider myself as someone that is 100% fine being in perpetual state of discomfort
Yeah.
and just not knowing exactly what to do and how to do it yet. And I kind of thrive in that environment of being a creative thinker and kind of thinking outside the box and just trying new stuff. And for me,
Mhm.
it's now become fun. I can't say
Yeah.
it'd be fun for everybody, but I enjoy it a lot. And I think more people just kind of need to lean into, hey, if you don't know what you're doing right now, congrats. You're kind of
Yeah.
right where you need to be, lean into it.
Super cool, man. One final one for you here, Brandon. We got a lot of parents that listen to this call, a lot of driven entrepreneurs similar to you and I. What's been your experience? I hate using the term, man, work-life balance. I mean, Bezos has said work-life harmony. However you want to dress it up. How do you ensure, Brandon, that you have an amazing life outside of your companies and don't over index on business all the time? Do you got any pointers? We'll kind of wrap there. I think it's such important discussion.
Well, I'm perfect at it. I make no mistakes and I have the perfect work life balance.
That's why
So
I'm asking you.
we'll start with that caveat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I have an incredible wife that will call me out on my BS if I slip. Like the way that I know that I have good balance in my life is when my kids and my wife tell me so.
Nice.
And that's my measure, like I don't like to justify or make my own definitions of it. It's like, if they feel like I'm present, if they feel like I'm not present, I want them to tell me. I want them to let me know. It may frustrate me if, I'm in a season of suck and I'm just like going through the motions, and we have those all as business owners. I had a big one just within the last few months. And so things get out of whack, they get over indexed in one way or the other. But for me, the hard lines I like to set for myself and try to abide to them as closely as I possibly can is I work from home every day, and I try my absolute hardest not to work past 5 o'clock PM. And I try my absolute hardest not to work on weekends. And when I do travel for work, I like to bring at least one of my family members, if not the whole family. And I've been able to do that pretty successfully for the last few years. But there's times when everything goes off the rails and I burn a Saturday, I burn an evening, I got to, do the hard thing. So I think that just being in touch with my family and asking them if they feel like I'm balanced and they feel like I'm present, and then being comfortable with being told no, and then make a plan to say, what would it feel like if I was more balanced? What would we be doing more of? What would you like to see? That's the ultimate metric to me.
I love that you said that, man. My wife calls it an entrepreneurial flare up, where I'm just like, because I like the constraints too, dude. But then you can just tell the vibe. I work from home too, and you're like, okay, we need to adjust, recalibrate. Not dissimilar, man, to a business, right? You can see that if the calendar's shrinking up, we need to recalibrate. We need to go a little heavier on marketing, or so it's like it's very interesting to see entrepreneurs like yourself bring these systems that thrive in business and bring a little bit of it into a home setting, because it's like a checklist, man. You're checking in with your wife and your kiddos. I think that's pretty cool.
And the biggest advice I can give is live and die by a calendar. Like, just you have it for your business, you have it for all of your customers. Why don't you have it for your family? And the date nights, the one-on-one, dad time with your kids, how you're going to be spending your weekends. Like, give it some intentional thought. Even if you have to put it on your calendar and make it feel like a work meeting or a work event, do it. And I've had to have candid conversations with my wife because it bothers her sometimes when I schedule things on the calendar because it feels less genuine. And I'm like, babe, I have ADD.
Yeah.
If it's not on my calendar for work, I tell people it won't happen. Why do you think it should be different with our personal life? And when you start doing it consistently and you have those consistent date nights and you have the consistent, game nights or family worship nights or meetings or church or whatever you have, you put those rocks in your calendar first and you make sure that they're there. If all your work stuff is there and there's no calendar event appointments for your family, well, what do you think's going to get always prioritized?
Yeah.
Put it in and make sure that it's a priority.
I love it, dude. What a perfect place to land the pod, man. Appreciate you, dude. You dropped so many gold nuggets. I'm sure our listeners will review this call multiple times. To wrap, man, best place to find you, preferred social platform. Where could people reach out? And we'll link up to HireBus as well. But you personally, Brandon, where would someone find you?
Instagram, there's Brandon Vaughn. It's on there, and I think on Facebook it might be Brandon Vaughn as well. I'm not sure, but hit me up there. Check me out, and then if you go to hirebus.com and you can learn more about HireBus. And then I even think that we give your members
yeah, dude, you hook us up. So they'll mention they're with HSBC and they'll get taken care of by your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Dave. I had a blast, man.
Thanks, Brandon. We'll be chatting soon.